The Boston Celtics find themselves at a crossroads that few could have predicted just a year ago. The roster has shifted, the expectations have changed, and yet the possibilities ahead feel strangely bigger than ever. What if the name that could suddenly enter Boston's orbit is Bronny James? At first glance, the connection sounds more like a social media rumor than a front office conversation. But look deeper, and the idea carries a certain weight. Boston is no stranger to bold moves, and Brad Stevens has already shown that he's not afraid of reshaping the roster when circumstances demand it. The team has endured significant changes, and the path to building something new may come through a direction no one expected. That is where Bronny's name sparks interest. While his rookie numbers in Los Angeles may not jump off the page, context matters. Playing in the shadow of LeBron is a challenge no young player can navigate smoothly. The pressure, the spotlight, the constant comparisons, they create a storm that makes growth difficult. Away from Los Angeles and inside an organization that has made a career out of developing untapped talent, the narrative could be very different. The Celtics have quietly built a reputation as one of the best environments for players to mature, sharpen their identity, and find their real place in the league. Veterans and reserves alike have taken leaps in Boston that they may not have taken elsewhere. That track record matters, and it opens the door for speculation about what could happen if Bronny were placed in a system that values patience, structure, and long-term vision. There is also the cultural element. Bronny stepping into the Celtics uniform would not only remove the weight of his father's presence, it would also place him inside one of the most historic franchises in all of basketball. The marketing appeal alone is enormous, but beyond that, the chance to write his own story, separate from the Lakers and separate from the constant LeBron comparisons, is powerful. For a player at his stage, that independence might be more valuable than any stat line skeptics will say. The odds of this move happening are slim, and perhaps they are. But when a franchise is in transition, windows for unconventional opportunities tend to open. Boston has the flexibility, the development system, and the willingness to take calculated risks. Bronny James may not be a superstar yet, but the Celtics have never relied solely on instant stardom. They build, they develop, and they unlock hidden potential. Imagine a scenario where Bronny grows steadily in Maine, refines his shooting and decision-making, and then steps into Boston, ready to contribute. At a higher level, it would not only be a storyline filled with intrigue, it would be the kind of long play that the Celtics have thrived on for decades. And for fans, the idea is not about Bronny's rookie numbers. It is about possibility, growth, and the vision of watching a young player transform in green and white. The speculation will keep circling, and maybe it fades without a single call being made. But the idea is out there, and it carries more weight than casual observers realize. If Boston truly views this season as a bridge to something greater, Bronny James could become one of the most fascinating names tied to that future. The Golden State Warriors are making noise again, and this time, the conversation revolves around a name that nobody expected to be tied so strongly to the market. Former #1 overall pick Ben Simmons is suddenly one of the most intriguing pieces in free agency. The rumors suggest that the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics are already in the mix, but now the Warriors are being floated as a potential surprise destination. At first glance, it feels like Golden State is about to pull off a shocking move, but the real story may run deeper, especially when Boston's quiet position in this race is examined. For Celtics fans, the immediate reaction might be skepticism. Simmons is not the same explosive star that once dominated headlines. His time in Philadelphia ended with questions. His injuries piled up, and his reputation took hits that many players never recover from. But when you strip away the noise, you find something different. Simmons is still only 29, still capable of defending multiple positions at an elite level, and still able to create opportunities for teammates in ways very few bench players in the league can. That skill set is rare, and in the right context, it becomes valuable again. The Warriors are reportedly circling because they see that value. They are preparing for another run with Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and now Jimmy Butler. But their depth is thinner than it has been in years. Simmons, as a defensive anchor and secondary playmaker off the bench, would give Golden State versatility that they desperately need. But this is exactly why the Celtics should not be counted out. Boston thrives on balance, on role definition, on giving players the kind of structure where strengths are maximized and weaknesses are hidden. For a player like Simmons, that environment is not just helpful, it could be career-altering. What makes Boston an especially dangerous competitor in this race is not only their proven ability to develop talent, but also the fact that they are in transition themselves. With Jason Tatum's health questions and major roster changes already in place, the Celtics are not in a desperate win-now scenario. They have the rare flexibility to take a calculated risk, one that does not sink. They're short-term goals, but could pay off massively in the long term. A player like Simmons does not need to step in as a star. He needs to be placed in a system where his defensive IQ and playmaking instincts complement established scorers. In Boston, that exact setup is already waiting. There is also the cultural factor. Playing in Golden State would once again put Simmons under a bright California spotlight, where expectations soar and patience is limited. In Boston, however, he could enter a more disciplined system where the coaching staff has consistently turned overlooked or undervalued players into real contributors. Think about the progression of role players who found their niche in Boston over the years. That pattern is not an accident, it is part of the Celtics' DNA. Simmons could be next in line, and the payoff would be dramatic if the experiment works. For Warriors fans, this rumor is exciting because it feels like a steal. For Celtics fans, the excitement comes from the possibility of a low-risk, high-reward signing that could quietly tilt the balance of the Eastern Conference. Imagine a rotation where Simmons absorbs defensive assignments that free up Jaylen Brown to be more aggressive offensively, or where he orchestrates the second unit to keep momentum flowing while the stars rest. It may not be the kind of headline move that shakes the league in July, but it is the kind of move that can matter deeply in April and May. The Knicks are still present in the conversation, and Sacramento has been mentioned as well, but neither offers the combination of stability and competitive edge that Boston can provide. That is why, despite Golden State's reputation for surprises, Celtics fans should not dismiss this rumor. Free agency often turns on unexpected details, and Boston has a history of capitalizing when others hesitate. The real curiosity lies not in whether Simmons signs with Golden State, but whether Boston quietly seizes the moment. While the rest of the league is distracted, the Warriors may chase headlines, but the Celtics might be preparing something more subtle and potentially more powerful. If Simmons lands in Boston, the conversation about his career could change overnight, and the Celtics could walk away with one of the most underrated moves of the offseason. The Milwaukee Bucks are no longer the unstoppable machine they once were. 3 consecutive first-round playoff exits have forced the franchise into a state of reinvention. The arrival of Miles Turner was already a signal of aggression, giving Giannis Antetokounmpo a defensive partner who can also stretch the floor. Yet whispers around the league suggest that Milwaukee's ambitions go further, and now the spotlight has shifted toward Boston. The name at the center of this storm is Anfernee Simons. For most observers, Simons has always been the kind of player who can swing games quietly, a scorer with instant offense, and an ability to create momentum almost out of nothing. His numbers speak for themselves. With multiple seasons above 20 points per game, high-level shooting efficiency, and the ability to carry stretches of offense when the stars sit, the Bucks believe he could be the missing link in their backcourt after the departure of Damian Lillard, a move that still leaves Milwaukee searching for identity. The logic is clear, but the true intrigue lies in what this means for the Celtics. Boston is not in the position of desperation that Milwaukee now finds itself in. They are recalibrating, not scrambling. The addition of Simons was never about the short term only. It was about creating flexibility, about positioning the franchise with both cap control and talent development in mind. Shedding his salary may be tempting, but the Celtics know what they hold. Simons is 25, entering his prime, and he has already proven that he can score against elite defenses. For Boston, the question is not whether Simons fits, But whether moving him now would be too short-sighted, this is where the curiosity grows. Why would the Bucks target Simons so aggressively, and why would the Celtics even entertain the idea of letting him go? The answer may be hidden in strategy rather than numbers. Boston's front office has often leveraged player movement, not only for immediate gains, but for larger long-term positioning. If a deal involving Simons happens, it might unlock future draft capital or roster flexibility that keeps Boston ahead of the curve. That kind of thinking is what separates a team holding on to fading stars from one building towards sustainable dominance. Still, there is a case for Boston simply holding firm. Imagine Simons integrated fully into the Celtics system, where spacing, ball movement, and defensive accountability are emphasized at every turn. His scoring ability could relieve pressure from Jaylen Brown, and his growth trajectory could make him a future foundational piece alongside Jason Tatum when healthy. Letting him go too quickly could be the kind of move that years later becomes a cautionary tale for other franchises. That possibility is exactly why this situation feels so loaded with tension. Milwaukee is desperate to reclaim relevance, but Boston does not share that urgency. The Celtics can afford patience, and patience may be the most dangerous weapon in negotiations. If the Bucks push too hard, Boston could use that leverage to squeeze every asset possible, or simply walk away and leave Milwaukee exposed. Either outcome keeps the Celtics in control of the narrative. What should make Celtics fans hopeful is that this kind of rumor proves Boston is in a position of strength. Other teams see value in the pieces that Boston already controls. That is not a sign of weakness, but a signal of depth and flexibility. Whether Simons stays or moves, the Celtics dictate the terms, not the Bucks. And history has shown repeatedly that when Boston holds the leverage, they tend to come out ahead. This story is not just about whether Simons ends up in Milwaukee. It is about Boston's ability to shape its future while rivals scramble to catch up. Every report, every rumor, every whispered phone call adds another layer of suspense. If Boston keeps Simons, they retain a dynamic scorer with untapped potential. If they trade him, it will be on their terms, and likely with rewards that extend well beyond the next season. Either way, the Celtics emerge with options, and options are the lifeblood of sustained contention. The Bucks may believe they are closing in on a steal, but what they may not realize is that Boston is playing a different game altogether. The real twist may be that the team chasing Simons the hardest could end up empowering the very rival they are trying to surpass. And if that happens, the Celtics might quietly walk away as the biggest winners of the offseason. The Boston Celtics are once again at the center of a rumor storm, and this time the name-stirring headlines is Anfernee Simons. After arriving in Boston in the deal that sent Drew Holiday to Portland, Simons has been viewed as both a potential, long-term piece and a valuable trade asset. The narrative took a surprising twist when whispers connected him to the Denver Nuggets, last seen celebrating their 2023 championship run. At first, the idea of Simons in Denver spread like wildfire, but almost immediately, insiders poured cold water on the speculation. The story was denied, but the real curiosity is why this rumor exploded so quickly and what it reveals about the Celtics' position of power. For Boston fans, the initial shock may have felt unsettling. Why would the Nuggets even be mentioned if the deal was impossible to begin with? The answer is simple and yet layered. Simons is already seen across the league as one of the most intriguing scoring guards available. His age, his contract situation, and his ability to create instant offense make him a rare commodity. Denver may not be in position to trade Cam Johnson or Aaron Gordon, but the fact that his name was attached to them in rumor cycles highlights the level of interest he is generating. And that interest says more about Boston than about Denver. The Nuggets are capped out, locked into their roster, and not built for the kind of flexibility that Boston currently enjoys. That is the key. The Celtics hold an asset that even contenders with MVP-caliber stars are curious about, but lack the tools to pursue. Boston is in the rare position of dictating the market, not reacting to it. That leverage should give fans confidence, because it shows the franchise is dealing from a place of strength, rather than desperation. Simons is not a throw-in piece. and this rumor made that clearer than ever. To even start a conversation, the Nuggets would have to consider gutting their core, something they are unwilling to do. That alone validates Boston's decision to acquire him in the first place. If other contenders see him as worth sacrificing, foundational players, then his value inside Boston is even greater. Imagine him operating in a system where spacing and shot creation are essential, where his scoring versatility forces defenses to respect the Celtics' second unit as much as the starters. That is not just a hypothetical boost, it is the kind of edge that tilts playoff series. The denial of this trade rumor also creates a fascinating layer of curiosity. If Denver cannot realistically land him, who can? Which teams actually have the flexibility to make a serious run? And more importantly, why would Boston let him go when they control the narrative? These are the questions that rival front offices will keep asking, and they are exactly the questions that prove Boston is sitting in a position of control. The Celtics can listen, they can negotiate, and they can walk away, knowing that no matter what, Simmons elevates their roster. For Celtics fans, the real takeaway is not the rumor itself, but what it represents. Simmons is already reshaping how opponents view Boston's depth chart. He is a guard that requires attention from scouting reports. He is a scorer that can swing momentum, and he is a piece that rivals know could be the difference in a 7-game series. Even the mere suggestion of Denver's interest confirms that Boston now holds a player who could define the upcoming season in unexpected ways. The denial of the trade may close one door, but it opens another kind of suspense. If the Nuggets are out, which rival steps in next? Could it be a team on the rise in the East, desperate to challenge Boston's supremacy? Or could it be a Western contender looking for that one missing spark? Until answers arrive, the speculation keeps circling, and every rumor only amplifies Simmons' importance to the Celtics. Boston's front office has built a reputation for playing the long game, for turning speculation into leverage, and for never rushing into deals that do not align with their larger vision. That is why this rumor, even as it is denied, should leave fans hopeful rather than worried. The Celtics are not reacting, they are controlling, and the rest of the league is forced to respond. Whether Simmons becomes a cornerstone or a future trade chip, the power is firmly in Boston's hands. The Nuggets rumor may have ended quickly, but it revealed something far more important. Boston has the kind of asset that even champions dream about. And that is the kind of position that keeps banners within reach,